All right, that game got a little bit crazy, huh? We've got another insane series. If you're JDG, you have to remind yourselves they still got to win one on red. They still got to beat us on red. All right, we still got blue. We can go for this. We're going to see whether or not the nerves hold out. It's going to be very, very difficult based on how the last two games ended. We'll see whether or not they can recompose themselves. But we know it's going to be a little bit difficult. Looking at this draft, we've got Rumble, Poppy, Rel being banned, Rakan, Nico, and Callista being the answers, making sure that we're just passing one OP each. You can have Orianna, we'll have Jarvan. I think Jarvan's the better half of that trade. We see a Bel'Veth Aatrox, which is kind of early for both of those champions. Going to be interesting to see how they opt to try to play that and how they try to manifest that lead. They get Varus for themselves and Azir, saying that we've got the plenty of long range. Jarvan also having fantastic synergy with Azir and with Varus is something that they're going to look to put together for themselves. Second round of bans, we got Ashe and Renata trying to make sure that they get rid of the peeling options. Kind of surprised to see Renata banned when they could have gone for Renata themselves. Renata Varus is fine, like something you can do for yourselves. Please don't pick Caitlyn. Kai'Sa Xayah biting the dust on the second round. They end up going for Yone on red 4, comfortable playing that into Aatrox, and then passing off Zeri Lulu, which we haven't seen in several days. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen Zeri, and then we get Bard. So Keria's Bard making it into the finals. Guys, if T1 wins, is Keria going to get a Bard skin? Are you guys going to be happy about it? We'll do an early shout out for this game since the tension's going to be really high. Hashtag StratChat. Do you think Bard can do it, and do you want the Bard skin to be the world's skin? Because Keria has been doing some special level plays on this champion. A lot of synergy here for Jarvan. Absolutely love the ability to lock people in place either with the Bard ultimate or with the Jarvan ultimate. Very good for Azir to scoop or Yone to scoop from there. A little front to back on Varus. Supportive role for Gumayusi. Not trying to play for the hyper carry on this position. We'll see whether or not he goes for an on-hit build. Probably won't, because Yone and Azir deal plenty of carry damage. You basically want a long-range poke. You want to make sure that people are a little bit lower. Chunked out to start the fight. JDG, on the other hand, they're going to be looking for a lot of Herald priority. Now, T1 has been fighting for Herald all season long. They've been the ones, they have a dominant amount of first Heralds. They make rotations for it. So a lot of this game is going to come down to what happens with that 7-minute cannon wave, okay? The 6:30 preparation, you can go top to bottom on the pushes. You try to relieve the pressure on the map by getting those pushes, right? You start here, you push your way down here, you try to get this wave pushed, you go down here, you try to get this one done with the 7-minute cannon. All right, then you reset and you come back in and you try to move over. The ideal pairing is to then, after this push, have Yone come down. You do have options to go for a dive here. And either way, you're trying to get Bard and Varus free to roam over to the Herald. So that's what I'm looking to see from T1. You generally do not want to allow Bel'Veth to have access to the Herald, at least not uncontested. You want to make sure that they pay a lot of price for it. Now, JDG, interesting spot. You really want Herald, but at the same time, Zeri, not level 6 at minute 8. Might have to opt to leave her alone in the bot lane, can't leave her alone with Yone. So if we see T1 make that rotation that I talked about, then that means that they're probably going to have to give up the Herald, because you either have to go there with Bel'Veth and bring the support and say, hey, everyone's coming along for the party, and we're going to try to hit level 6s on somebody to help support the fight. Or just play around the power level, the power spike of Aatrox at 6, Orianna at 6. They might say, hey, we're strong enough doing that if we just bring Lulu over. And if you answer with 5, then we'll bring Ruler down solo in the bot lane, which would be a win against Varus, but not a win against Yone. So we'll see whether or not T1 is apt to go for that poke, go for that rotation, sorry. We see the poke in that lane. Faker has moved on to Hail of Blades. Did not help him in game 2, but has moved on to Hail of Blades from Conqueror. Was one of the only Azir success stories against Orianna. Some people were positing that it was because of the Conqueror, because he figured something out, but I think it was moreover something that he wanted for the team comp. I think Hail of Blades has made it into his arsenal. I agree that Hail of Blades is better, so I'm happy to see this. You tend to see it with some combination of presence of mind and attack speed, or you see it with the blue tree and you see Scorch and Mana Flow Band, so that you can get a dominant amount of poke out and you try to beat the Orianna that way. It looks like he's gone for the latter option, playing for the aggressive lane, taking this lane to the Orianna. This is something that can develop over the course of the tournament. You see these world-class players playing against each other from different regions, maybe for the first time ever. You see how they adapt to the lanes and how they learn. So it's good to see a Faker adapting to this build and moving on. Although, you know, who knows? Maybe it was Conqueror that was better all along. We'll find out shortly. Zeus going for some extended trades here against Aatrox, trying to bully this guy level 3. Good to see. I love seeing Yone in pro play, honestly. Super high scaling potential. A lot of skill expression. You see the E being used at this level better than anywhere else. And trying to really take advantage of Aatrox's weak lane 1, 2, and 3. At 4, he's going to be okay. 5 is when he's going to start looking to maybe flip it. 6, he's going to feel very good. All right, 6 and 7 is where Aatrox really looking to try to flip this matchup, as he is in most cases. Of course, Yone having a very big all-in potential here. Interesting right there. Zeus actually showing that he's willing to get aggressive even with the chains on him. So he's ready to play to the maximum, not shying away from anything right now. You hope that that is the right amount of engagement, right? You want to be exactly enough optimized. You don't want to be over the top. You don't want to be too low. You want to be engaged. You want to have some amount of anxiety. A little bit tends to be best for peak performance. Now, everyone's different, but it's something to the tune like 97% of people perform better with a little amount of anxiety. Basically enough to show that you care, right? It can't just be, I don't care, I'm not really activated. You have to bring yourself up. You know, these guys could go through the motions and still be top 100 challenger players, right? Just doing what, the average, whatever they do normally. Right, just not even doing anything special. But this is not your average game. This is not top 100 of Challenger. This is for a ticket to the World Finals. So you need to be able to manage your own expectations, your own performance. You need to be able to play your best without going overboard. Right, you need to be able to cool yourself down. That's what we've been talking about. This is the overarching theme for this high pressure scenario. Visualization is your friend. Hopefully these teams have a sports psych, and hopefully it's someone that the team listens to, that they respect. You want to have good, positive culture preceding the positive results, right? You want the whole team to be built together, trusting each other. And T1, if there's one advantage that they have over the field, it's the fact that Faker, having been injured for 4 games earlier in the season, they realized, wait, we're not just all perfect, right? It's not just the 4 Ninja Turtles. It's just like in the old stories. If you guys are from the 90s and you watch the Ninja Turtles, when Faker's gone, when Splinter's gone, they have some turmoil, right? And they make mistakes, and they need to get Splinter back before he's able to put them back together, right? So is that the case with T1? It seems like they went through some significant growth together. Hopefully that is the case. I know we're all cheering for T1 to go right now. Like we said, going into the quarterfinals. This is a narrative unlike any we've seen before, where T1, where Faker in particular, everyone's thinking about who the next Korean solo laner is going to be to win Worlds. And first in the quarterfinals, he had to beat Scout. And then BDD, Showmaker, Chovy, they're all eliminated. It's actually Chinese players that are left. And it's actually a Chinese opponent, quarterfinals, semis, and now finals, if T1's able to win this game. We see a little bit of a battle for the control ward. Hate to see that early control ward being blasted immediately as 105 golden experience being split over to JDG for winning that control ward. You tend to want to get that support roam timer. Oh, it feels bad, man. You tend to want on Bard's roam, on Bard's recall, to get back into the river, and you tend to get this control ward. But if that is the play that you always go for, it is exploitable. And this time we see Kanavi saying, yeah, I'll fight you for this river presence, right? You may come here and try to help, but I'm actually going to have the support of my team. We're going to come over. We got first push because Bard was latest to the recall, means that we can fight for this ward and claim that as our own prize. Now, they won't be, whoa, Knight, where are you going? He put himself into the pit. That's a huge mistake. We get Q, stun, Wombo. Crazy to see that. Completely unexpected to see him walk in here. As he comes back out, he gets stunned by the Bard and then by the Jarvan. They're able to get one back for themselves onto Owner, and Faker might actually bite it as well. So was it all a huge ruse? Definitely not. But It was enough. So JDG jumps out to a little bit of an early lead. It's not showing in the gold right now, but they do have the experience lead and they have more people on the map. And very importantly, it's the mid laner who is gone. No teleport, no ult means that they could have access to this wave. Now you see this wave, it's actually already pushing. So Faker's actually losing the minimal amount coming out of this situation. Very bizarre to see that position. Now they all bundle themselves in. They end up getting soaked up. Let's see. Faker tries to go with the Fantastic Journey. They peel themselves off to the side, but that means they isolate Bard with a good stun to hit 2, but that's the magical number. When you're playing against Bard, you send 3 people through the gates. You can't stop them all. They do it. They collect Faker's corpse. Yone taking it to the Aatrox. Hold on. Rulers here on a rotation that we were talking about. Who is going to have the better rotation for the Herald? They end up bringing Zeri over here, and Varus is nowhere to be found. So JDG is actually going to win this. I love this play by them. They're moving Zeri into position. Now, even better, I want her to come pick up this item. I do not need Bel'Veth to go get it. I want Zeri to pick up the eye. It doesn't look like that's what they're going to do. So Bel'Veth gets it. That's going to springboard Bel'Veth ahead, right? She's going to look to drop this. They're going to look to siege. The reason that I like this proactive play is because you've got the Remora spawning now. She's going to jump ahead. They're going to go for the wave. They're going to fight this off. Now, if T1's able to get a pick for themselves, they might be in an okay spot. You see them investing a control ward very heavily, predicating on trying to make something happen here. We see a flash forward from Lulu to go for a polymorph. They're absolutely trying to take this to Azir, and he does not have his ultimate. It means Bel'Veth is able to get the reset. All right, Ninja Turtles, time to pick up Splinter. He's been caught by the Shredder. He's been a prisoner. You need to go release him. Who's going to be Leonardo this time? Now, all this work has been done on this top lane turret. Varus did get some alone time. He's going to rotate over to the mid. They are going to drop the eye. Ruler's going to try to get the maximum amount of gold here. You notice that Lulu is not going to leech the gold here. You just let Zeri get into range. She wants to get these 2 plates, split it between Bel'Veth and Zeri alone. Would have been even better if it were just Zeri to do it. For a couple of reasons, right? You want the gold on your AD carry. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that their trinket is the worst because they can't face check any bushes. Those are the 2 things combined that you just don't need anybody else on your team picking it up. I want carries to get it. The one reason to get it on a jungler is if it's going to spike you to your mythic, right? If that's the difference between you getting your mythic and not getting your mythic, right? That 350 gold, or usually it's less than that. Usually you're splitting it, so it's 175. Then that can be worth because you can take it and you can spread that lead into other lanes. If that's not the case, if you do take that gold, then you need to make that happen. Bel'Veth, sometimes not the one to try to make that happen. Now, Bel'Veth is a champion that I'm super high on, right? The ceiling level is very, very high on this champion, and the ending threat. Especially even just with the second eye of the Herald, you have ending threat and potential. The Remora have been nerfed twice, so it's not nearly as broken as it was on release, but still very, very strong. And if you fumble against Bel'Veth, that is one of the fastest champions to punish you in the game, Ziggs being the other one. In fact, they're so good together that those are the 2 champions I like generally to put together. You want to have Ziggs and Bel'Veth together so you make it imminent. You say, your turrets are dying. We are going to fight over Herald. We are going to play for this one objective, and if we get it, then we have a good chance of winning the game. Anyways, JDG continuing to put the pressure on. They're in every single lane. Now, Azir's going to get something back for themselves. They'd like to reset. You'd expect them to try to reset. Yone's going to be happy to play this matchup, but maybe with the early plated steel caps, they might say, hey, let's actually swap it up. Let's put Yone into Orianna. Ori has her same solo lane problems, and for the same reasons that you can't play Ori against Akali in the side lane, you can't play against Yone. So all it takes is one misstep, or I should say one outplay from Zeus, to find and punish the Orianna, and maybe we're looking at a change right here, especially because, you know, these plated steel caps were meant to battle this matchup. They are not meant to fight against the Azir. Aatrox only having limited mobility can be poked out by this Azir. I think that they want to swap these lanes around and try to fix this situation. They could continue to go for proactive plays to try to get these turrets the rest of the way down. We'll see what T1 tries to muster up as a defense. Now, Bard being one of the special tools in the toolbox, right? The roaming potential, the buffs prior to Worlds, making it easier to maintain the chime stacks and more effective when you do get into the fight. We'll see if that effect comes into play. Now, an interesting thing also about the situation, normally Bard against Bel'Veth, you really want to prioritize getting that stasis down to block the Eye of the Herald. Take away some of the power off of the eye buff, force it to just be a source of Remora, and that's it. But JDG was able to wiggle enough roam. They were able to play into this depth, trying to keep Bard away from the turret, stopping him from casting the stasis. And so they were able to get the maximum. Now T1, some proactive plays here. I like seeing Owner and Keria moving together, jungler and support proximity. Now it is Aatrox. They did fix this lane for themselves. Big chunk of damage. Could be the play that he's opting for. All right, Bel'Veth is able to get this for themselves, but are they going to go get the kill? If they can turn off the buff right away and Kanavi can't back, then they can call this a win. Yone scoops him up. They're going to get the kill. No, they don't. He's burning. It's not enough. They try for the kill. They don't get enough. You see the power of the Orianna shields and the Lulu shields keeping him up and alive. That is another huge win for JDG. I'm glad that we see better answers in the draft here from T1. JDG is still saying that we've got the ace up our sleeve, playing this Zeri, has 2 kills for herself, already has a shutdown, going to be building that Navori Quickblades and trying to take the game over from that point. Now, will we have a situation like in game 3, right? You have tremendous catch potential. Scoop ultimate. Cataclysm, circle them up. Scoop ultimate, push them back. You can single target, go to the front. You can grab people at range. So all of these people have... This entire composition can set each other up, and any 2 people getting access to any one person here might find the window. Jarvan Cataclysm maybe being one of the exceptions. Zeri, of course, having that extra tool, being able to use the E to dash herself out if that comes up. Kanavi will be able to do it if he has the unleashed evolutions, right? If you've gotten a kill recently, then you'll be able to dash over the... Oh, no, that's got to be a mistake. That's a huge misclick. Kanavi did not want to right-click over that. I mean, I have to assume. Like, that had to be a mistake. And in general, that should never happen. You should be left-clicking, not right-clicking in that situation. So, a little bit of tension mounting. T1 says, all right, the fact that Bel'Veth is low means that we can take this dragon. They're not going to contest. Good answer by JDG, saying, okay, you can have that. I'm going to have this. Would have preferred them to get the eye a little bit closer, but this is going to be a charge, and that's it. Nope, Bard says, nope, take nothing. So Kanavi actually reeling right now, making a mistake and then compounding mistakes, trying to get that charge off as a little prize for themselves. Hold on, Yone's going for a 2-man ultimate. Aatrox ult is busted. Orianna uses it as a penalty. Here we go, big ultimate. Is Kanavi going to die? He does die. Aatrox on the side of the Cataclysm. They get off. Wow, this is on a nice edge, guys. What I was talking about, right? So this was clearly a mistake to take this magical journey. The fact that he survived is huge. All right. And then as he's escaping, T1 says, okay, you're low enough that we can take this. Normally the correct answer is, okay, I go and push and I have the Herald, so I'm definitely going to punish you. But you've forgotten in that time, because your heart rate jumps up and suddenly you're like, oh, what's the answer? Okay, I survived. All right, they're taking Dragon. Let me go push. Press Eye of the Herald. You forget you're against Bard. And Bard just turns off the charge. Good job by JDG, though. Still getting the maximum here. Now, last time I asked who was going to be Leonardo, Zeus stepped up and got 5 kills within 2 minutes of me asking that question. Hasn't happened this game, but we do see the Kraken Slayer. Now, he looks to be building Hullbreaker. And if he's going Hullbreaker... All right, we end up seeing Gore Drinker, by the way. Makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of Gore Drinker. For some reason, I was thinking back to old builds. Gore Drinker from Aatrox gets to split that role. Totally okay. Is Aatrox going to go for it? Sorry, is Yone? Oh my gosh. I need to reset. I got myself into Kanavi's mindset, and now I'm fumbling over words, and I'm watching a game that's already happened, right? Like, that's how crazy this can work against you. We'll take a deep breath. You can do it with me. All right, we're reset. We're good. Is Yone going to build Gore Drinker for themselves? Is it going to be Stridebreaker? We've seen Stridebreaker on Yone before, something that allows you to dive into the team and get a big slow off. In solo queue, obviously, we see the Hullbreakers. I've said that word way too many times for this game where it's probably not going to get built. But if you decide that, hey, our best chance of winning is actually a split push, maybe you can go for it. The problem is if you go for split push, there's too much mobility on this team, right? They can engage these fights. They can chase you down. Very hard for your team to actually pick the fight. If you're looking for disengage options, Bard, not the best. Can cast the ultimate. We can see an ultimate here. Sometimes we see R into EQ from Jarvan. But if you're using all of these tools to disengage, then JDG is going to count that as a win. And then they're just going to continue re-engaging because they've got all that extra mobility. So JDG in the driver's seat here. Only thing that they're lacking is the 2 dragons. It is an Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul can help in these poke scenarios. If you're going to end up with poke, Varus, Q, and Azir poke. Hold on, we catch Bard. Things are falling apart for T1. Now, from the coach's point of view, right, you don't want to get caught up too much in the emotion of this game. You still have a job to do because you have to plan around game 5, right? You're in that room. Yes, you want to enjoy the ride with your team a little bit, but you need to prepare your team for what's coming next, right? You have to plan for game 5. If you're T1's coach, you're working on a contingency plan, right? What happens? How did they get here? What are the things I need to talk about? How am I going to remind my team that, hey, they still have to win on red side, right? We still got this, right? How do you cool your team down after a loss in a tense situation? Saying we still have the advantage in game 5, just be yourselves. If you're JDG, how are you actually going to take this win and turn it into another? All right, hold on. We'll watch this. Classic T1 taking Baron in the fog. Are they actually going to finish this? Magical Journey is already presented and everybody gets out. T1 pulling a classic Baron hoodwink. They steal the Baron for themselves, and there is a lot of standing turrets, guys. There's only 2 turrets down, so they're going to look to try to get at least these 2 axed off the board. Bard changing the rules of the game, getting your team over to the dragon pit quickly. Now, what I don't like is that they're moving over to the pit without getting prio first. Now, they already have prio in top and bottom, so they're already in a decent spot. Varus coming up straight through mid. You did have to make sure that at least one person came through that lane. Yone's teleport is very, very aggressive. This is much faster than I would have expected. It looks like he just wants to get himself into a better position. They're saying macro is a matter of seconds. I need to get into play, into the right spot. Now, JDG is going to draw their line of scrimmage on the right side. Knight on Orianna tends to not want this flanking position. It's Aatrox that wants to be right here. They want to jump over this wall. Orianna wants to go front to back, and they want to get this wall off to over onto Kanavi as he jumps into the team. Owner gets the smite, but now JDG is going to have the fight. Zeus can't find his angle in, or can he? Azir actually scoops. We got multiple people at 30% HP. Is Zeus going to be able to consolidate this fight and get some kills for himself? This is a crazy fight. Look at the different directions you could draw. I mean, this fight is going every which way. I apologize for drawing on the board. But crazy how many directions that's going. That's Bard for you. That's Zeri for you. Aatrox as well. Even Yone, like all these guys trying to find those angles. But the big winner is going to be T1. Not only did they get the smite on the dragon, but they also have 5 people standing. They got Orianna and Aatrox. So the biggest threats are all gone. They're going to take this win, take the gold, spend it, come back on the map, and go for high tempo again. They still have Baron for 1 minute, which is enough time to siege for this, and they made sure to get money in their pockets. Now, they do have a little bit of a syncopated back here. Jarvan is later. Let's look at this fight. Orianna a little bit late to this position. We see the smite combination. You see the big engage. J4 just trying to re-maneuver himself. And then the big winner, right? You see that really good position right here. They're all moving into this area. Bard is able to create some extra space on the side while Zeus gets aggressive. Faker's taking a 1v1 on the side. Yone is just such a huge threat right here. Wait, they find the engage. There's no flash. They're going to get that pick onto Belveth, and now another champion dead. They have 19 seconds on the buff here. No way, they're going in. Cannot work. They're actually going for everything. They want to scoop up the Yone and pop with... There's no ignite. Lulu almost getting one-shotted by Yone. Now, this is Hullbreaker, guys. This was a Hullbreaker Yone grouping with the team anyways, not even presenting that side lane target. Picked up the Hullbreaker, has been going for the chain fights. We've seen this build before. We tend to see Infinity Edge coming next. Sometimes it's actually Gale Force to actually double down on the extra movement speed so that you can rotate. We'll see what Yone goes with. This is a very important part to respect. You always go for Cloak of Agility. After you're at 2 items, Cloak of Agility counts twice on Yone and Yasuo. So when you're building up that second item, more defensive itemization, you absolutely want to go Cloak next. There is a world where you even buy multiple cloaks and just scale up off that first item. Here we see the chain CC. Once one hold down comes down, Varus is able to chain it up. Jarvan jumps over the top. They are able to get it. They never even have to use the Azir tool. I need to catch my breath. Level 15s online here from the solo laners. Level 13s from the solos. So T1 is going to try to press this advantage. This is a big deal for them. They now have a 3,000 gold lead and 3 dragons, meaning it's exceptionally likely that they're able to siege for this next one. And they can be super patient. Look at all these wards that were placed here, by the way. 7 wards just dropped right in the same little pocket. No way. Back-to-back plays? Are you serious? This is not a replay, guys. This is the exact same play from Keria, except this time we get it on Orianna. They play for that pocket of vision along this 10th vertical. And they say, nope, we're just going to stop you anytime, any kind of mobility to here. Bard playing so well on the sides of the map can stun you against the walls. Changes the rules of the game, and T1 is playing it better. Orianna gone means that they don't have access to this shockwave. It also means that we're going to get level 16s coming online from the solos, potentially while we even have these guys at respawn. So they've got the second inner. We've got the Hullbreaker split from Yone, going to completely crush Aatrox in the side lane. Already has a 43 CS lead. Going to get even bigger. Aatrox cannot sustain against this much pressure on the side. Yone can just go inside and stay inside. It's kind of like an old Mike Tyson quote. It's like, what are you going to do? I'm going to get up inside him. What are you going to do once you get inside? I'm going to open up like a mother... And the idea being like Aatrox gated a little bit by that first and second Q, and you really have 3 seconds where you can't get Q3 online. And if you're Yone, the moment one Q comes up, you just walk in at them and you're saying, I'm just starting attacking to you. And the second that you try to cast Q, I jump inside with the E and I make sure to continue the fight. As soon as you try to go for Q3, I snap back. I win the trade every single time. Now, speaking of winning trades, Yone is about to get access to level 16. Very, very close. Hits it right there. Azir has it as well. Varus is actually getting close too. Just hit 15, but significantly closer. We're saying 15, 16, 16 versus 14, 14, and 13 here. So a massive difference. Even the support is unlocked on the next level. So this means that all of the minions have a huge buff. All right, when you have this much of an advantage, it's 5% per level that your team has over the enemy team. So their minions are going to be pushing. So even though we get this push up in the top lane, that's not going to make it all the way to the turret. And T1's going to feel fine in this situation. Now Zeus, pressure's on. Azir just solos Bel'Veth, and he's out of the fight. Kanavi just reeling ever since that misclick to the mid lane turret. Has been fumbling this whole game away. T1 finds multiple kills, and they're staggered on death timers. They have 3 different deaths. Are they just going to go for the end right here? They're going to go pick up the soul. Azir might go and solo the dragon while the rest of the team pushes. Azir has teleport, so they can go and teleport to this wave. Instead of trying for the inhibitor, they're going straight for the Baron buff, and they're going to try to win off the back of that. This actually could have been played better. You actually had enough time for sure to take this and come back over to the Baron, but they don't want to give any counterplay. They want to say, we want this Baron dead. We're already set up to win in side lanes. So that means that we're going to get Yone off on the side. We're going to keep the teleports available for Azir and Yone. We're going to go into a 1-3-1. Bard is going to be on full peeling mode. Let's see all the damage that Kanavi takes right here. Just taking all this damage, walking through the 2 sand soldiers. You see expert placement right there. You see how he just dots the eyes, puts them right there, making it so that if Bel'Veth wants to walk through, that they're going to pay the price. There's the culmination of the fight. There's something I want to look at while we're coming back here. Now this ward, you almost always want to get this bush warded. Now T1 creates this in the aggregate for themselves. They end up getting the pocket right here. So they create a little bit of vision for themselves using the Demacian standard, the fact that they've got the control ward in the bush there. That's how they control the parameters of this fight. Ruler tries to kite away, but just cannot get away from Guma. That reminds me, we haven't looked at Guma's build recently. That looked like way too much damage for what is normally the lethality build. We just assumed that they would go lethality this game. But let's see it. Based on that attack, it looks like we might have had Ginsu's. It is. It's Ginsu's on hit. Varus. This is the Varus build that can win the game, that you can carry. Now, normally you don't see this in a 1-3-1. But in this game, using the extra attack speed from Jarvan, the extra chain lockdown, saying we can take this fight to them. We just need to be able to deal this much more extra damage. All right, very bizarre placement here. You got Bard solo in mid, using the buff to push in the minions, has the magical journey to be able to rejoin with his team, jump over this wall, and gate himself to that fight. You have a hull breaker in the top lane that Aatrox cannot sustain against. That is double cannons in the top lane. We have a cannon in the bot lane. Now, here's the more standard approach. You put Jarvan over there. Jarvan can join on either side. He could go left or right. Yone just clapping this Aatrox. No ultimate expended. Aatrox has used his and still gives up the turret. Now pressure is an all-time high. Remember, we say we want to save our adrenaline for this moment. Keep breathing. Take as many moments as you can for yourself. As if you have a second, you have to breathe. But T1's getting the maximum. Now, what is JDG going to do? Are they going to just turtle up and say, you can have 2, we're going to fight for the 3rd? Generally, we'd like to see them try to find a way to hard engage, but they just don't have the avenue, and they're just too weak. They're saying, let us try to get to level 16. T1 may not want to back after this. Generally, you do, but they may not want to because they don't want to give Orianna or Aatrox this access to level 16. That could just blow up the fight. So we'll see whether or not they stay here. They've got 40 seconds left on the buff. Look how far Seos is staying away from his team. All right, now he finally rejoins. Overheal being used with the Bard, getting the extra shield onto Guma, making him as tanky as possible. Kanavi again getting ripped into by the Azir. How many times is this going to happen? We've seen it so many times already this game. They melt down the turrets. They're going to burst down The base, no, they're going to go for the fight. They have to take one moment to win this fight. They push over the fight to one side. Yone scoops him up. T1's going to the finals again, baby. My goodness. What a ride. Now you can celebrate. Difference in the stoic demeanor from after game 3 to go into game 4. JDG, what a season. The golden road is still elusive. No one has been able to do it. They were the first team to have this opportunity, or the opportunity to be the first team. They're going to have to take some time to themselves. You see the tears on their eyes. And these guys saying, hey, well done. Some ex-teammates here, ex-competitors, used to be in the same league, Kanavi and Ruler, moving over to China to create this super team. And they get defeated by Superman himself. Take your bows, young men.